Hey everybody, Pastor Jim here from the Indian Lake Community Church and the Lighthouse of Indian Lake. I hope this finds you well on today, Thursday, May the 28th. As you know, I had previously committed to making these videos on Tuesdays and Thursdays to share with you. I did not do a video on Tuesday of this week, but had a very good reason for that, and that is that, I forgot. So my apologies, but let's not focus on the past, shall we? Let's focus on the present and the hope of the future. And so my thoughts today center around the thoughts of many of my fellow Americans, and that is the recent tragedies that have taken place in both Georgia and Minnesota. And as you know, there was an unarmed black man who was shot while jogging in Georgia, and then there was the unarmed black man who died at the hands of the police in Minnesota here, and the rioting and the looting that has taken place since then, and the outrage that follows. But then the ever-pervasive question of my mind, which is anything ever going to change? This kind of thing, judging people by race, religion, profession, feeling superior to other people because of our income or intellect or any of these types of things. I never understood this. It's something that's always amazed me and been foreign to me, to be honest with you. How do you possibly just judge yourself better than somebody else on something as superficial and shallow as the color of somebody's skin? That's just something that I've never quite been able to fathom. And the same goes true for professions. To judge an entire group of people or a profession based on the actions of a few, that's not right either. I think to judge that all policemen and women are evil, corrupt, and racist because of the actions of a few people is not any more right than judging a whole group of minorities because of their skin color and classifying them all together. I know many men and women in law enforcement who are honest, decent, hardworking people who honestly are endeavoring to protect and serve their communities. But you can't judge an entire profession based on what a few bad apples may do. And the same goes through with clergy. It's true with clergy because there are people who are pastors and clergy, and we're honestly trying to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ to a world in need. And we try to be honest, hardworking, God-fearing people. And then there are people who enter into being clergy for the wrong reasons, and they are able to see personal gain, and they're able to take advantage of people who are vulnerable and at need, men, women, and children. And it truly disgusts me when I see that, and yet it doesn't reflect on who I am as a person or a Christian. So how do we move past judging people based on these things? And it's nothing new. One of the things that always amused me is when Jesus called Philip, and Philip was so excited he went and called Nathanael, and Nathanael looks at Philip and says, "Nazareth, can anything good come from Nazareth?" And so he had basically said, this whole group of people from Nazareth, I have no use for them. Can anything good come from there? And then he met Jesus, and oh yeah, something good can come from Nazareth. But when he heard he was from Nazareth, he's like, I don't know if I have any use for this guy or not. And in that day, really, when you think about it, the Jews were always being persecuted by the Gentiles, and that was not a good situation. And yet the Jews turned around, and their view of the Gentiles was not good either, because basically the Jewish view of the Gentiles in that time was that Gentiles were not God's chosen people. They were heathens, and basically they were just going to be raised to be the fuel for the fire in hell. And that's not a good thing at all. In fact, one of the common prayers that a Jewish male would greet each other, a greeting that they would share with another one, was, "Lord, I thank you, I am not a Gentile, a slave, or a woman." Well, there you go. I'm not a Gentile, a slave, or a woman. So basically they were superior to all of these people. And yet, so then think about it, when you think about how the Jews felt about Gentiles and how the Gentiles felt about the Jews, when Paul said this in Galatians in the 3rd chapter, starting in verse 26, "Sons of God, you are all sons of God through faith in Christ Jesus. For all of you were baptized into Christ and have clothed yourselves with Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek, slave nor free, male nor female, for you are all one in Christ Jesus. If you belong to Christ, then you are Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise." Imagine how that went over. I mean, Gentiles were on par with Jews and vice versa and all these kinds of things. I mean, that was unbelievable. And it was hard for them to accept that the grace of God and that salvation had come to the Gentiles and the Jews alike. I mean, it was just hard to fathom. And So the thing is, as Christians, we have to realize that we are all created equal, that we are all part of the same family, that God, when he sees us, doesn't see the things that we look at. Sometimes I wish, we could find a better time, a better place where we could judge people by the things that we should judge people by, which is, the kind of car they drive and the college football team they root for. That's the kind of thing we should focus. No, that's not the kind of thing we should focus on. Just kidding. But so how do we judge people? How do we view people? And how should we see people? And the amazing thing to me is that a lot of people who would judge somebody by their nationality or their race or skin color, if you will, if Jesus Christ stood in front of them, they would be shocked. Not just because, hey, it's Jesus. That would be shocking. But that Jesus doesn't look anything like the paintings that we have of him. He wasn't this tall, white, Anglo-Saxon looking man. He looked like the region of the day with darker skin and all of these features. And so to think about if Jesus were to stand in front of somebody who had this mindset, they would look at Jesus and feel superior to Jesus the Messiah. And why? Because of the color of their skin. Let that sink in for a minute, if you would. That's the thing I just don't get. So how do we look at people, and how should we interact and view and judge other people? I've always tried to look at it this way because I'm far from perfect, and I have my own challenges in this way that sometimes I have to overcome if my first thought is not a good one and something that I have to look inside of myself and deal with. And so what I try to do is I try to think back to Samuel, 1 Samuel, when God sends Samuel to Jesse to anoint one of Jesse's son as the next king of Israel because Saul has disobeyed and disappointed God. And so he sends Samuel to Jesse's house to review his sons because God is going to anoint one of them. And Samuel looks at the sons of Jesse and he says, that's got to be the one. He is tall, he is handsome, he is rugged, he is all of these things, and that's got to be the one. And God says, no. He says, yeah, understand this. He said, I don't look at the things that man looks at. I look at a man's heart. And that's all that I look at, his heart. Think about this. God looks at us as he looks at everybody else, and he looks through their nationality, he looks through their skin color, he looks through their income level, their profession, and everything else. And what he sees is their heart, that we should have a heart for God. And last Sunday in my sermon, I talked about this process as Christians, we strive every day to be more Christ-like. It's a process called sanctification. We strive to be sanctified. We try to live more like Christ, to be more like Christ, to represent Christ in this world. And if we're going to do that, we have to look at men and women of all races, nationalities, professions, and anything else the way that Christ would. And it has nothing to do with what we would normally look at somebody at. It is simply a person's heart. That's it. That's all. All of the rest of this is jars of clay. It's just packaging. And we have no right to judge anybody else based on their skin color, their nationality, their profession, or anything else. That's what I take from it. But anyways, those are my thoughts for today. When you see another man, when you see another woman on the street, when you see the news in front of you, when you think of a nationality, when you think of a race, or if you think of anything, take a moment, step back, and realize that they, like you, are a son and daughter of God, that we're all in this family together, and that what God cares about is not what's on this shell on the outside, but it's what's in this heart on the inside. And that we spend time and energy and effort, not just looking at what's inside of us, but helping to develop and bring that out of those around us. That's what we're called to do. Anyways, good seeing you all. Take care. God bless. Hope to see you soon.